Back at it again with another top 5 for Guts and Black Powder, just like how long it takes for a Guts and Black Powder update to be released. And today we're going to be going over the top 5 worst equipment in Guts and Black Powder, aka top 5 worst weapons and items. Just as an FYI, we will not be including the meat leg because this is a joke weapon. It is literally created to be a meme.
Number 14.
Blowing yourself up in the number 5 spot we have is the grenades. Now this is probably going to be a very, I guess, interesting one, especially some grenade fans or even mains out there which are pretty much extinct. The grenades is of course one of the best items currently in the game, and just like as the name suggests, you pretty much pull it out, light the fuse, and after a few seconds. And the great thing about these grenades is that they do so much damage that they insta-kill every single enemy in the game, including the cuirassier zombies. And already in hindsight, this seems like an amazing item, so why is it even on a top 5 worst list? Well, that's because this grenade has many flaws. First and foremost, the cooking phrase. Just like a regular grenade, you need to cook this before you throw it, or you just want to go ahead and throw it as soon as you light the fuse, and after like, I don't know, 4 or 5 seconds, it blows up, and most of the time when it blows up, there's pretty much no zombies there and no enemies, so it pretty much does absolutely nothing. Maybe if you're lucky enough, you can get one guy. And this is where we're going into the second flaw with this item, and that is the blast radius. This blast radius is incredibly small, being like 3 feet wide. And in most circumstances, you're literally gonna get no kills or even damage on any enemies. However, that doesn't mean that this is a terrible item, because all you have to do is just cook this grenade, and after a few seconds, or when you perfectly time it, you just throw it, and most of the time you will probably get 1 to 2 enemy kills. But also not just cooking this, on other maps like for an example Cobb, just throwing it down in the trapdoor area, just spamming them is also very good, because I mean that's where they're just spawning continuously. And in hindsight, this thing is honestly pretty good. It's just that compared to the tar bottle, it is not even close.
Number 27.
Sorry cuirassier fans, but number 4 spot we have is the cuirass armor, or however you pronounce that. Now this is probably going to get a lot of controversy of me probably putting it on this list, but however I cannot actually put anything else on this list other than this because of just how kind of a debuff this armor is to the player. This armor is permanent and you can use it whenever you want to, and in hindsight this seems like an incredible upgrade. I mean, just gaining a fuck ton armor, being completely immune to the gladiator spear attack, and of course even giving some sweet outfit designs and even hats. This is honestly an awesome piece. However, there are huge downsides. The first and foremost is of course a decrease in movement speed, just like the sapper, so that's not a big deal. However, the big downside for using this armor is that now you have a limited amount of shots when using your firearm. Yes, now I believe at the top of my head it's only 10 shots, and after those 10 shots you simply just ran out of ammo apparently, even though when you don't have armor you have an infinite amount of ammo. I don't really know how you explain that. Now, okay, using a firearm is not necessarily crucial in this game, but then again, if you're only going to be using your melee weapon and never your firearm, then play as an officer or even play as a sapper. They have melee weapons that, well, they only use, so then just play as them. This armor is of course good and it can actually be very good. However, just the fact that you are now limited with how many shots you have, no matter what gun you have, is just kinda dumb. However, there is a trick to this, to get around this, and that is simply using the air rifle. But Jesus Christ, dude, why do you have a limited amount of ammunition for your firearms?
Number 7.
Halfway midpoint of the video, we're going into number 3 spot with the Spiritual of Cleansing for the Crucifix. Now, this is honestly an alternate variant of the Crucifix, and I mean, just design-wise, look at this thing. This thing is pretty fucking awesome, okay? However, gameplays-wise and stats-wise, it's not that good. Basically, what the original Crucifix does is it stuns enemies in a big radius, and also can push them back and also free any captured survivors. And of course, this is immediately ready as soon as you play as the priest and regenerates over time when after using it. So this is honestly a very strong and very great ability. Now let's look at the Spiritual of Cleansing ability for this Crucifix. Basically, it's not ready when you pull it out, and you have to kill and or damage zombies in order to charge it up. When pulling it out and using it, enemies are not stunned, but they take damage and also are temporarily slowed down. And it usually takes like 10 seconds for the quote-unquote chip damage to kill a regular zombie. So definitely not that good, and that's basically it. This crucifix does basically not that much, I guess, anything really. Sure, it just damages enemies and I guess slows them down, but one of the big downsides and flaws about this thing is that it essentially doesn't do a whole lot compared to the original crucifix, especially when zombies can still damage and kill you while you are using this spiritual of cleansing variant. So in all honesty, the original crucifix that the priest gets as soon as you unlock the priest is 10 times better than this paid one that just doesn't really do much apart from just slowing them down, doing very little damage after 20 seconds and killing them. But I mean, in the end, it does have an awesome design, so not too badly, especially placed on the number 3 spot.
Number 12.
Surprising no one into the number 2 spot we have is the knock gun. Now this gun, just by looking at it, looks absolutely awesome. It's literally a shotgun with 7 small barrels and of course does the absolute most damage in the game for a firearm at 250 damage, which is crazy, especially if you're shooting all of those shots at a single enemy like the fucking armored guy in the Westminster map of London. That guy is instantly obliterated. And of course, with this much of a high firepower, this essentially just obliterates an entire horde with a single shot. However, there is a reason why this is rated as one of the worst guns, and that's 2 downsides. One of the biggest one, or literally the biggest one, is the reload time. This thing has an insanely long reload time of like 20 seconds. Why? Well, you are reloading every single one of those 7 barrels manually. And after like 5 seconds of reloading, you're already falling asleep. It takes that long just to reload all 7 barrels of this gun just to be able to use it at its maximum potential. And of course, the other downside is the blast radius. This gun is more or less a sniper shot than literal a shotgun shot, just like the regular Seaman's 2 other guns you unlock. The blunderbuss, which you literally unlock as the default one, and of course the small snub pistol, which you also unlock that is the better version as well. So this one is mainly just a sniper one that just does a fuck ton of damage, and if you want to play as a sniper, then use a soldier, and if you want to use a shotgun that has a big blast radius, then use the blunderbuss or the other gun. This gun is more or less just a huge downgrade compared to the original blunderbuss. Now, it's also worth to mention that you don't have to reload all 7 of the barrels. You can simply reload 1 to 4 and that's it. But if that's the case, why are you using it then? Just use a different weapon, especially on a different class, and you'll get better results, especially a faster reload time.
Number 1.
And finally, the number 1 spot, which I'm certain a lot of you guys have even forgotten because of just how terrible and pointless this is, is the jack-o'-lantern, well, lantern. This is probably literally the worst item in the game because of just how meaningless this item is. Now, just to clarify for those who don't actually know about this, is that this is essentially a limited time Halloween event item, and after beating it, you unlock 2 rewards. First and foremost, you unlock a saber skin for the original saber, which I mean looks awesome. Then of course you unlock this jack-o'-lantern thing. When actually using it in game, this simply just lights up an area and that's it. That's literally all this does. It does absolutely nothing to the undead apart from lighting up their ugly ass faces and probably just making you look like some sort of bright light. And the fact that it does absolutely nothing to the undead nor to your even stats at all just makes this completely useless and meaningless. Now I'm gonna go ahead and talk and literally just clarify. I know this is a Halloween limited time holiday once in a lifetime, I guess, item, but that doesn't mean it's supposed to be completely redundant. I mean, just look at what the priest has for his melee weapon. He has a special dagger-like thing which essentially brights up after damaging some enemies, and that's cool because it's literally a reskin. Here, it's not a reskin, but a brand new equipment that takes up a tactical slot which you could be using for a grenade or a tar bottle for just a lantern that does absolutely nothing, even in dark areas. Sure, it lights up dark areas, but that doesn't mean it's useful. This item is so redundantly meaningless even in bright and dark maps that it deserves to be the #1 worst and most pointless item in Guts and Black Powder.